Indianapolis. I don't know where we are. I can't even see that street. Yo!
Well, take a look at that. That's video of NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Owens posting on his Instagram account last night that he was stuck in an Uber here in Indianapolis due to those high waters. Now, they were at 10th and Sherman before they had to call for help. Owens was in town for the NIT championship. Chattanooga played last night where they won the championship, and that's where Owens went to school. So, again, he posted that he was, leaving the Indianapolis Pickleball Club before, obviously, as we saw right there, he was in an Uber, got stuck at 10th and Sherman.
My goodness.
And yeah, so he posted it on Instagram if you want to take a look at the full video. But yeah, that's just an example, Lindsay, of what we saw here.
Yeah.
Across the metro, that heavy rain, thunderstorms we had last night just really impacted roadways.
It did, and we still have a lot of ongoing flooding, especially in more outlying, rural, low-lying locations that typically do tend to flood.
Yeah.
And we've got an example of that I wanted to show you. He was talking about out at 234. This is near the Mount Vernon schools. So basically right in front of it. This was a camera. I mentioned the plow cameras that they've got. This is just basically a snapshot of that. So that just kind of goes to show you 234 right now. The fields that run parallel to this road just completely flooded out, and now that water running across the roadway. So that's, again, just kind of one example of some of the flooding that we are seeing. Again, that's out there just to the east of the McCordsville area. The rain has somewhat let up. We are still seeing some light showers tracking across the Indy metro. More so, that steady rainfall continues south of the city. Getting ready to wrap up in Bloomington right now. You can see kind of the tail edge where that drier air is slowly starting to take over. We're going to see a little bit of a lull in the steady rainfall this morning. More so closer to the lunch hour today for everybody, but then one more round is expected to move back in this afternoon. So still dealing with some of this ongoing heavier rain between Bedford, Bloomington, and Columbus, but this next round will kind of make its way in later on this afternoon. This is at noon today. Notice this lull. Then as we get you into the afternoon, basically after 3 p.m., the heavy rain is going to set back up for us. So this takes us through 5 o'clock today. That will continue heavy at times through about 10 p.m. for the metro. We'll continue southeast for another few hours, and then during the overnight, some scattered rain going to take us into the first part of the day on Sunday. Then we see another chance of some scattered rain Sunday afternoon. Overall, we are looking at the potential here of an additional 1 to 2 inches of rainfall on top of this heavy rain that we've already received. Some of these embedded spots here down and across portions of Morgan into Johnson County, Shelby County as well, picking up radar indicated 6 to 7 inches of rain, even some isolated higher spots. We've got an ongoing flood warning for the entire area through about 1 o'clock this afternoon. We're going to talk more about rainfall potential for the rest of your weekend and the full forecast.
All right, we'll see you then, Lindsay. And as she just mentioned, that overnight rain led to a lot of flooding across the metro. In fact, take a look at this time-lapse video. This was on I-65 near 38th Street. You can actually see a pickup truck that spun out due to that high water before hitting the wall, barrier wall. So other cars and trucks had to go around that high water and accident before an officer was able to get out there and really help drivers avoid that area in high water. And this morning, Shelby County is now under a travel advisory. So that means routine travel may be restricted due to the hazardous conditions. That comes as there is also an evacuation order in place for Shelby County. Now, it's for people living in low-lying and flood-prone areas. Residents are told to, or urged rather, to leave the area. And if people refuse, emergency responders say law enforcement may intervene. Now, according to the sheriff's office, its water rescue team is also on standby to help with evacuations and any type of possible rescues. There is also a Red Cross shelters open in Shelby County. If you do need to head to one, we have all the locations for you right now on our website at WTHR.com. Well, time is now 9:04. Right now, central Indiana is still reeling after those severe storms last week. The aftermath shows just how dangerous it can be. 27-year-old Nathan Merritt came into contact with fallen power lines near Danville. He died at the scene. This morning, our Logan Gay speaks with his loved ones about their loss and now what they hope it can teach others about not taking life for granted.
It's not supposed to happen this way. I was supposed to go first. The family of 27-year-old Nathan Merritt are still trying to come to grips with how their lives changed forever within seconds on Wednesday.
It sounded like he got blown away by a tornado, like just taken, and that's what it sounded like. But I didn't know it was power lines.
Nathan's wife Amber says he was on his way home after meeting up with her at a Walmart. She says at the time it was pitch black and pouring rain.
He couldn't see anything, and he was scared. And he said, just stay on the phone for a few. And I told him, I said, you need to pull over if you can't see.
But before he could pull over, he accidentally ran over a down power line and his truck caught fire. Seeing the flames, his sister says Nathan stepped out of his truck and onto a live wire. Amber was on the phone the entire time and heard everything.
I cannot tell you the pain that I feel of having to remember this for the rest of my life. But the last moans and like yelling and him saying no, no, no will haunt me for the rest of my life. And I didn't know what was happening.
She and Nathan's family searched for him for 3 hours. They eventually made it to County Road 75 West, where police and other first responders were already on scene. They waited 45 minutes to find out any news about Nathan, but for them, it felt like a lifetime.
Something's really wrong. It's been long enough. They should have called by now. They should have found something out. And I knew.
Police later confirmed the man lying near the truck was Nathan. Now, instead of seeing him sitting around this dinner table, they look at pictures on their phone when they want to see his face. Or his 3-year-old son, who they say looks just like him.
And when he walked in a room, he lit it up. I was just with him. And if I had known that the storms were going to be this bad, I would have kept him there with me a little bit longer.
But just like most priceless things, one may measure life by quality, not quantity.
Never take life for granted. Do not take it for granted.
I thank God that God gave me him as long as I had him. I love him so much.
And that will never change. In Danville, Logan Gay, 13 News.
And your thoughts and prayers just go out to that family. And our storm team will, of course, keep you covered right here on Channel 13 as well as WTHR Plus for these severe storms coverage. It's a free app on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and Roku. And of course, that's where you can find in-depth forecasting before, during, and after severe weather hits. 9:07 on your Saturday morning. The playoff-bound Pacers adding another win last night here at home. The blue and gold beat the Jazz 140-112. The Pacers, they were actually back and forth in this game with Utah. In fact, they were actually only up by 4 at the end of the third quarter, but ended up getting that 28-point victory. Miles Turner led the way with 26 points, and right now the Pacers are 4th in the Eastern Conference behind the Knicks and ahead of the Pistons. We do know the Pacers have solidified their spot in the NBA playoffs coming up, so we're looking forward to that. Meanwhile, the Pacers are back on the court tomorrow night in Denver. Tip-off of that game is at 8 p.m. Lindsay?
All right, and we are keeping an eye on the radar and our road conditions this morning. After a round of very heavy rain last night, we've got our eyes on a secondary round of rain. Seeing a little bit of a lull here as we go through the next few hours. This area of low pressure moving off to the north, but we've got another one that's moving in tonight. Unfortunately, we're going to be talking about that timeline, rainfall potential as well for the rest of your weekend coming up.
Plus a wild week on Wall Street. Stocks starting the second quarter in a sea of red. Coming up after the break, we'll break down how it's now affecting millions across the country. Welcome back, everyone. Right now, the Senate is working on passing a budget resolution. Last night, they kicked off the vote-a-rama. So that's when it votes on unlimited number of amendments to the Republican budget resolution. So right now, the GOP is focused on taxes and spending cuts. Meantime, Democrats are trying to block some of the GOP priorities. The Senate is expected to vote on the budget resolution later tonight.
Senator from Alaska.
Madam President, I call it my...
And we are continuing to monitor this area of low pressure moving through and a secondary area of some heavy rain that's still developing back to our southwest. This cluster of showers, well, it's moving in our direction, set to bring another round of some heavy rain in as we get into this afternoon and this evening. We're going to walk you through that hour-by-hour timeline and talk about some much cooler air that's headed our way for the second half of your weekend. That's coming up.